Um, we have quite a few people today.
See Julia, Denise,
Good morning, everyone.
Samuel, Anna-Dekis, Chiesa,
Good morning.
Great to see you.
Kashana,
Hi.
Chigoji,
Hi, Elvis. Good to see you again.
Elvis, Macheva.
Julia.
Hello.
Stay safe.
Hello.
Chimuka, how are you?
Wow.
Well, today our presenter is
What happened?
I am driving and listening. Hi, Edward.
yes. Stay
Hello.
safe.
Hello, Julia.
Yes.
Elvis.
Don't worry if there's
Miejima,
anything you miss
right?
while you're if you're missing anything while you're driving, we can
Denise-
send you the recording, so don't
Denise Benting.
worry.
Yes, please.
Yes, Denise Bentic from Guyana.
Great to see you. Well, in case
Hello,
you guys
hello.
were getting tired of me, we have also Dr. Edward Lambert. We have Dr. Babatunde. So we're in good company.
Where's Dr.
Edward,
Babatunde? I don't see Dr. Babatunde yet.
He's just logging in.
Okay.
And our guest presenter, I see her here already.
Lana.
Her name is Lana Stamenkovic. Thank
Wow,
you so
you're very
much
good.
for. Oh yes. Okay. Okay.
Great pronunciation. Thanks.
I'm glad to hear it. We just wanted to clear the field for you a little bit, and maybe start with a little bit of a chat. Human resources is important for everyone, I think. No matter what you're doing, at some point in your career, in your personal life, you're going to have to interview, whether it's for a CEO position or for a babysitting position. It could be at all levels. And no matter what industry we're in, we've always had team members that we have to collaborate with. We have expectations, we've got growth. And today's technology has made human resources in my 25 or so years of seeing it evolve, it has changed tremendously. The amount of candidates that are possible today. I mean, just looking today at the Zoom meeting, there are no more barriers. There's no more borders or artificial boundaries in the planet Earth. I think now anybody can participate in the global economy. We just have to present ourselves as the experts that we are in our field, and there's a tremendous demand that's not limited to our cities, our countries, or our geography. So with that, I welcome all of you students to today's presentation on human resources and leadership, and welcome Ms. Lana Stamenkovic. Thank you. And if you want, you can tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're in the area of human resources. That's your area of studies. And so I'll let you have the floor. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, it is my pleasure, and I'm very happy to be able to be with you today and to share a bit of my experiences and to share with you my career trajectory, and of course to answer any questions you might have or concerns, or share your experience that you had with the human resources so far, and to be there to speak openly about everything. I started my career a long time ago. I try to recall the year. I won't share it with you. I will keep it to myself. So it was kind of a long time ago, and it was in the pharmaceutical industry in AstraZeneca. I was in the marketing. My early career stages was in marketing department, and it was around 2010 that I slowly and gradually transitioned into human resources. At that time, I was the business assistant of the management board of one big retail company here in Eastern Europe, where I'm based at the moment. And then at that point, like 12 years ago now, 13 years ago now, I learned how it is it's kind of my life mission to be working in this function, and how tremendously important is for me to first of all understand who I am, my values, my motives to be in HR department, to be able to understand people's motives, what inspires people, what motivates people, what demotivates people, because HR people, among other, are very much involved in creating and role modeling the culture. So as an HR, I've been working in across industries, retail, pharmaceutical, and for the last 4 years, I've been mostly in the IT industry. And I'm currently managing the HR operations for the Eastern Europe for one global company. You might have heard of it. It was before called Bactera Edge. As of yesterday, we rebranded and it's called Scientific. So it's one of the leaders when it comes to AI, machine learning, different software platforms, and like the cutting edge technology. But regardless of which industry you work in, HR does not change a lot. Of course, it needs to adapt to the industry itself, but the main attributes and the hallmarks are pretty much the same. And it is something which will be part of my presentation today, to speak about the competencies of the HR as a function, especially of the people who are leading the function. Before I dive into my presentation for today, I would like to hear more of your experiences. If you're willing to share good or bad experiences that you had with people who are managing this function or just working in it. Anybody willing to just share their thoughts with me?
Okay, guys, so you can get off your chest any bad experiences you had with your HR managers, with interviews, maybe getting stood up on an interview, maybe not getting a follow-up call.
Something that I hear so many times, that people are ghosted or not getting any kind of feedback when they apply for a certain position in the company. That is one of the most common objections I've heard about the HRs, but I'm sure there are many others.
If you go down below to the menu under reactions, you can raise your hand.
Oh, Dr. Lambert, for some reason, I am not the co-host, so I'm trying to mute, but
I am too.
not allowing.
Okay, now it's much better.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Ovura, am I right?
Yes, Owure Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine is not really like a bad experience. I recall why I had to get this job in an interview. So the panel was just giving the questions, and I need to be familiar with the answers. So I was giving them. Then it got to a particular question that I'm not really very sure of. So one of the panelists could sense that I was somehow now agitated. So I was talking very fast and trying to get the answer.
Oops.
I think there is a lag, some kind of technical internet connection.
Oh, it was getting so good. Okay. We'll wait for Owure. Maybe he can reconnect, and we'll let him finish. Let's jump over to Steve. Thank you for raising your hand, Steve. Sure. Please unmute yourself and join us.
Okay, so this is Steve. I am from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I don't know if you've ever been here, but the background of Lana is almost as my background.
I just wish.
but my experience is a little different. It isn't. It is me doing our side in the bank. Okay, having to deal with, I don't know if you've ever dealt with people in the US Virgin. It's very from all the islands in the Caribbean, come up islands to make a light or bridge to United States. Having said that, so you find people from St. Lucia, from Trinidad, like I am, Barbados, and all over, but not all of them come with the same attitude, right?
Of course.
Some of them are aggressive. Like we have some Haitians here too. I'm not. Please, this is really only for educational. If anybody is from any of those islands, it's not intended to be. But yeah. So that has made, having managed a bank, it has made my life a little bit difficult on the HR side because you had to negotiate with people. You had to, and the instances where you have to ask them to leave, but you can't just ask them to leave. You have to go through a process of finding their weaknesses, and we call a gap analysis. So we do a gap analysis on each of them, where they were weak. We try to give them coaching, and we coach to bring them to the speed of the level we expect them to work at. And when they don't reach that level, we have to give them an ultimatum, you know, either change the job they're in or ask them to find another job. So that part of the HR side is a little different because I was actually doing HR, you know, and yeah. So I just
Yes.
I just wanted to hear what Lana had to say about that.
Of course, very gladly. Employee cycle has a couple of stages, okay? Employment cycle, employee cycle, whatever you want to call it. The very first stage is the recruitment and onboarding stage, right? So HR should serve as a sort of a gatekeeper to try to the possibility that the people who are not the culture fit to be employed in the first place. That will help us to resolve a number of subsequent mistakes and problems that we have. So it's very important for the company to understand whether the values that the person and communication style and values and everything else which constitutes and forms the culture of the company is something that is the personal value of the candidate and the communication style and everything else. So this is the first instance when you get this kind of information, whether the person would be able to fit within the company or not. They say, you know, and I completely agree with that. You can train skills, but you hire attitude. And I really, really align with that. I had numerous cases in my career then this proved right. So of course, it doesn't mean that you would look for the 100% qualified candidate who completely aligns with your values, because it would be impossible to find, you know. But you really need to look for the people who are teachable, okay, who can easily adapt, who are willing to learn and willing to change. So you need to look for those kind of attributes and characteristics in a person in order to say, okay, this person might not be, you know, 100% fit for the company, but he's teachable and he's willing to learn and change if needed. So that kind of gap would be easier to pass and to build a person who would be able to be productive, to be happy in his environment. So because it has ever been like that, but hiring is a two-way street. Right? It has always been like that. But we're now paying more attention to that at this point. So we need to look for the people who are the match for our company, not only because of the company's sake, but because of the sake of that employee and his experience, because he would be much more productive and happier working in the environment that aligns to his needs and wants and values than the vice versa, of course. I mean, that speaks for itself.
Just want to comment on that. I teachable ideas, and that works. But when you give them that 30-day window or this 90-day window, and they're the best person ever to work with, and after the 90-day window of probation, they fall into their old habits.
Mm.
So they're falling into the employee of the bank, and now you're stuck with the other steps I just mentioned. Gap analysis and training them up and trying to fit them in.
Yes, sometimes now for me it's hard to say about whether these gaps are so big that we cannot let them go like that and continue after the probation period and stick to that employee. Now I'm speaking more like generically because I don't understand how difficult and how deep the gaps are. That's why we have the probation period. And from the standard practice, it's very important to know one thing. Of course, it's a usual practice, a little bit obsolete nowadays, that the probation period is like almost always 90 days long. But it's important also to understand that today we consider somebody to be a new hire, sometimes even up to a year. Okay. Sometimes it's hard to, especially for some positions and some position levels, to see whether the person would be a good fit in the long run in the time frame of 90 days. Sometimes it needs more time. Also, this raises another question. How did we tailor and how did we make our onboarding process? Is it clear enough? Were there any gaps that we need to fill? Were there any blind spots as well? For us to reconsider. One of the practices that I established a year ago, and I find them very, very good, is that we have 4 times a year, we have these kind of onboarding meetups with the people who were onboarded in the last quarter to share with us their onboarding experience and what were the blind spots and how they would compare their onboarding experience in our company to the last company. So the thing is, I don't want to put everything on the as kind of on the company's end. It's not just the company and HR who needs to work to bring more better practices and everything to ensure that onboarding experience and everything would be better. Sometimes it's the employee who just missed or failed to adapt itself or to deliver upon expectations and everything. And then that's the thing we need to understand. But I want to say, at least from the HR perspective, from how I see it, the hiring and onboarding process are mainly HR-driven processes. So we need to understand that we did everything in our way to ensure that these are smooth, lean, and effective processes. Because hiring and retaining people is very expensive thing. From the company perspective, it's the cost if it wasn't done in a proper way and the employee leaves, either voluntarily or involuntarily. So HR is here to identify those blind spots in the recruitment and in the onboarding and to ensure as much as it's possible to, first of all, hire adequate candidates and onboard them properly. And after that, if those gaps are still here, then we obviously made a mistake. Then we will try to resolve this as peacefully as possible and to learn something from it.
Excellent.
Thank you
very
very
good.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you, Steve.
we've had a very long introduction. You know, we don't want to take too much time away from
Sure.
what you want to cover,
Sure.
but Elvis, Elvis Mecheba, if you have something you'd like to comment, maybe a little bit on the quicker side so we can get started with Lana's presentation. Go ahead, please.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm Elvis from EG, Equatorial Guinea. So the experience here with the company, I work for Marathon Oil. The experience here is quite different from what you said.
Mhm.
I believe
Okay.
I believe HR is that person or that part of the organization that deals with their employees as well as the company. So to manage the rules and regulations in place and to hire the correct people for the task. But here is quite different because our HR here is like not in support of the employee, but mostly in support of the company. So I guess it's like a one-way relationship, and I believe it shouldn't be that way. So I would like to know your opinion on that.
Right. Well, this just leads me to the first slide of my presentation, and if you don't mind, I will share it with you because it's actually a great entry for what I'm going to explain further about. Let me just share my slide. I promise I won't overwhelm you with my slides. I just have a few of them because I want to keep this very interactive. Share
Edward,
screen.
I
Can you
just wanted to
enable-
double check. Yeah, Dr. Lambert, can you, you're the host. Can you right click on Lana to make her co-host or to
Yes, I
allow her
already
to
did
present?
that. So she
Yeah.
should have
Okay.
permissions already.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
There you go.
Oh, beautiful.
Let me know when you can see my screen. Of course, very common. Okay.
It says started. It's still, there we go. It's perfect now. We see everything.
Perfect. Okay, good. So I will just skip this intro part. It's not that much relevant. So one of the very first competencies for the HR person, actually not just for the HR person, this is the understatement, for anybody, but especially people who are working in human resources and dealing with people on daily level, is integrity. This is the key competency that you need to have in order to be able to do your job well. It goes without saying it's for all the positions, but for the HR, it's substantial. So you can't be the head of the person human resources if you don't display integrity on a daily basis. What does it mean? Let me answer your question. Pretty much how empowered the HR will be, it depends on the company culture. And it depends on the personality of CEO who is leading the company. Sometimes CEO will try to make HR to be their just the communicator of their decisions without giving the HR the opportunity to come up with their experience, to come up with their opinions, best practices from the market. They will just want HR to execute on their decisions. And that is the deadly position for any HR when you just need to execute without the possibility to change something, to help people develop, to help people grow. I have always been business and people-oriented person in the same manner. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes the other prevails or the other one, but I really try to keep those in balance. And I would never, ever work in the environment, or better to say, I wouldn't stay in the environment that doesn't give me opportunity to do what I am best in, and that is helping people grow, because I see this function as mainly helping people develop and consequently helping company grow. So what I want to say, this is the key ingredient, key competency for any HR person to be able to speak with integrity, to be able to have set of ethical principles, to be able to speak truth, no matter what the consequences are, to be able to very clearly and concisely speak about the consequences of either decision that is to be made, right? So numerous times I have been in the position that how I perceive people and their development, HR as a function, collides with what the management board or as the CEO perceives and how they envision the HR as a function. It happens numerous times, and it's a normal thing. But if I'm not able to share my experience, to present the risk that is being taken with each wrong decision, and to stand behind my decisions, then I'm not working out my integrity. I'm just there, nod my head, and that is what CEO expects for me. And that is not the environment where HR and people can thrive and grow. So it has to do a lot with integrity. You have to be brave to express your ideas. You have to be brave to take accountability for your decisions. And you have to be brave to move the needle. If you don't have that, then you're just following orders. And anyone can do that. You just follow the orders, you just execute. You don't need to know much about HR in that position. So I don't know what to tell you. It can be, of course, it can be the thing that HR doesn't want to take accountability and is given accountability and empowerment, but just doesn't brave enough to take it. But I don't know what is the situation in your company, but I see it as the integrity point.
That's great. That's great. The answer was good. So I'll wait till the end of the slides. Then I may have some more questions.
Sure. I mean, you can ask this moment if you want. But you can ask at the end.
Thank you,
worries.
Lana. Yeah, so if as Lana's presenting the slides, if some comment or question comes up, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll be happy to call on you.
Or you can type your question. If it's easier and you don't want to speak, you can just type your question in the chat box and I will refer to that later. Is that okay? Good. Somebody raise hand, right? Or it's just my, okay. So the next competency that people, I'm now speaking from my perspective as the leader. Of course, there are executive assistant positions that I'm not going to talk about today, but from the perspective of the HR leader, leadership is something that needs to be on a high spectrum developed and to be continually developed if you want to lead this function and if you want to be a mentor and a coach for the people in the organization. So this good leadership skills, having good leadership skills is kind of essential to help employees grow, to guide them toward, to help them upskill, to help them reskill. You need to be the role model. The culture I was telling you about is driven by the leaders in the company. Let's say now there is a differentiation between managers and leaders. Now I'm speaking only about the leaders. Leaders are the role models. They promote behaviors in the company and other people just look up to them, to those behaviors that they promote through the values. So this is all the second very big hallmark and competency for the HR person to continuously invest in developing their leadership capabilities. Now talking about the leadership capabilities, it's a very broad topic for itself. What do you consider? Let's just tackle this question a little bit. What are the leadership capabilities that you consider to be the most important one? Any thoughts on this?
Is that question for me?
Anyone?
Oh, okay.
Anyone who would like, not for anyone who would like to.
I saw Kashama. Kashama, I saw your hand up. Do you want to comment?
You can also freely write your answers in the chat.
Yes, sure, of course. If you don't want to speak, please just, there are no wrong answers. Don't be afraid to speak your mind.
Kashama says her microphone was not working, but she says that her answer is empathy.
Right, empathy. I would completely understand. Without being able to put yourself in another person's shoes, you actually grasp their feelings, their thoughts, their map. Okay, now let's go a little bit of deep dive into empathy. What do you think is the main capability when it comes to empathy? It's again a very broad subject to talk about empathy. So what do you think is the main constituent of empathy itself? I'm very curious to learn your answers. What do you think?
We have Amie Hino Bright. Do you want to comment on this? I see your hand up.
Yes. One aspect of empathy I know leaders need to actually develop is feeling for others, trying to put themselves in the shoe of their employees or co-workers and see what problem they are going through and how best they can help or help them overcome the problem or challenges they face.
I agree 100%. What is the skill that can help us to put ourselves in other people's shoes? What is that particular specific skill that can pave our way in that direction? What do you think? It's a very specific one. It's called active listening.
Listening, yeah.
Active listening. Listening not for the reason to respond, listening for the reason just to understand. That is the main competency for the HR person, not to put myself in that kind of defend myself position, even if I'm actively attacked for something, just to listen, to understand what are the wants and the needs, what are those kind of things that the person is non-verbally telling me, just to pick up those clues that the person is verbally and non-verbally trying to convey as their message. It's kind of essential skill that I'm still learning. 5 years ago, I was the kind of person who was finishing other people's sentences, and that was very bad. So I learned better. Now I listen actively and try to see what is this person trying to communicating, what their needs and wants are unmet, and how I can help with that. Not to try to find the perfect answer or to defend HR or myself. That is something that, like I said, I'm still learning and growing this specific skill in order to be more empathetic to people around me.
We have a hands up from Jekpo. Please go ahead. I just wanted to add that maybe authenticity, it helps if the human resource person or the manager or the leader has been in that position, at that level, to identify with the person.
You just said something.
Okay. I just want to add that apart from emotional intelligence, we could have self-motivation.
Yep.
As a leader, you should be a self-motivator, because sometimes it could be so hard when you're working with people who don't really understand your vision.
Completely agree. I can completely agree with you from two aspects. Many times leaders need to drive the change management process, which can be very tiring, very confusing and overwhelming for the leader and for the team that the person is leading. So if you're not able to self-motivate and self-manage yourself through these transition times that are very much common, it will be very hard to stay on track, to motivate other people, to engage them, to support them, and able to self-motivate and to be a driven person. I think it's very, very important. Completely agree with you.
Thank you.
I can't see all thank you for asking. I can't see all the raised hands, just to tell you. I just see a couple of these screens, and so I need somebody who will help me to facilitate if there are more people and questions coming.
There's one, Dr. Lambert said spiritual intelligence.
Wow, I like that. I like that. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what does it mean for you?
The spiritual intelligence?
Yeah, just elaborate, what does it mean from your perspective?
It's that knowledge of being spiritual beings and that we're all in this world living together
Wow.
developing our stories, but we need to work together because ultimately, spiritually, we're all the same from the same family. That's kind of the idea.
So that is so huge. That is so relevant, and that is so important. And I will just a little bit add of my thoughts around this, and a little bit go a little bit broader to get to the point. More than often in communication, we tend to take the situation and the communication personally. In 99% of cases, it's not personal at all. It's very rare those situations when some person has really something against us or wants to do something wrong to us or on purposely doing something just to harm us. Knowing that we are in the same boat, trying to keep afloat, really helps to resolve these communication issues in the first place, because everything starts and ends with communication. Just knowing that the person opposite or in front of you is dealing with their worries, fears, problems, and it has nothing to do with you. 99% of the cases, it has nothing to do with you. It's not against you. It really helps to resolve a lot of communication issues. And that kind of spiritual intelligence, knowing we're in the same boat, dealing with mostly the same problems, and just bearing that on mind when you're just about to explode and burst, thinking something is personal, or somebody triggers, push the red button, which, was formed when you were 3 years old. And it has nothing to do with the person and situation. It's just the old wound being awakened. It really helps to resolve these communication issues. It's easier said than done, but it's possible when you remind constantly yourself about that. And that is how I perceive that kind of spiritual intelligence. We're all the same, dealing with same problems, same issues, and nothing is pretty much personal.
And Lana, we have a few other comments here. Chame says listening. Amir says self-evaluation, listening. Pretty Dube says empathy is about having a human face. Alei Famori says emotional intelligence. And Folashiede says empathy is showing compassion. So we have some, I guess, self-regulation, perceiving if the other person's at a breaking point and not, pushing them past the edge. So some good comments there. Thank you, everyone.
Very good comments. And this is so true. This is what leadership capabilities are. Empathy, resilience as well. This is also something that is very important for the good leader to be able to self-manage self-regulate their emotions. That's like very, very important. So you're on the good track. Very good answers. Thank you. Okay, I will just move forward with my presentation if there are no further questions. So, as a pure definition, leadership is the ability to influence an individual or group toward achievement of goals, like influencing, not commanding. That is managing people. I order you, command you what to do, but ability to influence people around, to convey your passion and enthusiasm for the work, for the project you're working on together as a team, that is considered to be a leadership. And nowadays, pretty much like everything is changing. There are some kind of new leadership characteristics. It is no position power. Nowadays, we have more informal leaders than we ever had in the past. People who do not have that kind of formal hierarchy and title, but they are anyhow the leaders, the informal leaders in the teams. It's very important to understand that the leaders build value and culture. People look up to them. People, behave in the similar way that they behave. Also, good leaders nowadays have huge respect for the differences. They look for differences. They look for diversity, versatility. Two-way communication is essential now, not top-down. It's in all possible directions. It's peer-to-peer, top-down, bottom-up, all directions. And this communication is very frequent. It's not like an annual review that is so obsolete. it's like being able to give instant feedback is one of the main capabilities of a good leader, like not to wait for the next review or call or one-on-one meeting just to give the instant feedback to the employee. It's something that new generations highly value. As you probably know, new generations want to grow very fast and they need instant feedback, not to waste like 3 months to get the feedback that can help them grow. So really need to adapt. I'm so much into, and I think that is one of the HR capabilities that is becoming more and more common, is to research and learn about different generations and their wants and needs. So I'm now actively learning about the generation Alpha. Have you heard about it? It's the next generation after the Gen Z. It's the generation Alpha. Actually, it's now, today, those kids are 11, 12 years old. So I'm now learning about their their values, their system way of thinking, because they will ultimately be the working force in the next 10 years. So I need to learn in advance. And in order to tailor our work environment to suit their needs and to adapt to them, that is also something HR needs to keep in mind, because generations differ, their motives, their values differ, and we need to take this into account. Of course, it doesn't mean that we'll tailor the work environment only for one generation. That's certainly not the case, but we need to hear them and to try to make them valued, appreciated, and included in the work environment as well. Any questions so far? I can't see it, just asking.
Just a quick comment, Lana. Some of these problems are alleviated by technology. For example, we have a lot of informal communication, whether it's, Skype, WhatsApp. Sometimes you can climb the organizational ladder several levels to get your point across to someone. What are some ways that you've seen companies have success in allowing employees at all levels, kind of like, you don't want feedback to get stuck at like the manager's level, and then it doesn't make it 7 rows up the chain. So I don't know if you've seen any tools or methods that have helped in that regard.
That's so good question. I don't have the right answer yet, but I will do my best. There are numerous tools nowadays. But tools are not so much important. Even in this remote setting, tools are just tools, like a help that you can use or you don't have to use. But it's just that kind of willingness to invest your time in helping people grow, in making the time in your schedule to have for one-on-one feedback, and to be able to actively listen, and to be able to bring up some action items after this talk. I think this is essential. Now, as we have so many tools coming, and I think it just confuses us on a great level. So, there might be some tool that is better than this. Let me research on this tool. This tool, I just heard about it. It does wonders. And then you just forget it's all about the time and willingness. Let's get back to human potential that is only what it takes for you to give feedback to the person or take feedback, or do both ways on one-on-one call. So tools can definitely help, but if you don't have the willingness, if you don't have the time, nothing will work.
Excellent, thank you.
I see more and more people entering. I'm just, hopefully they could join us from the beginning, but hopefully they will still be able to learn something out of it. So of course, it goes without saying that communication skills in this kind of this is essential for any position, especially for the human resource people who have to talk to different people throughout the day. Just today, I had 7 different calls with 7 people in different positions. So So it really took me some time to clear my head from the last talk and to get myself into this new talk, because different people, different positions, different worries, different concerns, different problems. So you really need to be able to concentrate, to actively listen. I will repeat it as much as it takes, with kind of active listening. Active listening, 5 minutes of active listening can really take you far in the communication with the person, and to be able to meet their needs. So this is something that is essential for the HR. Yeah. Any questions? Did I hear something? Oh, okay. Do you remember there is this image that very nicely represents the importance of nonverbal communication? So do you remember this percentage, how much we through nonverbal communication and how much we figure out through verbal communication? Do you know the ratio? Can you recall that? It's around 60% of communication is a nonverbal communication. So we tend to understand what the other person is telling us through 60% of their nonverbal communication. Around 30% is the tone of the voice, how they speak, something where they're speaking loudly or quietly, it's the tone. And only something like 7 or 8% is what the person is actually speaking. What are the words the person is talking to us? So 60% is the nonverbal communication. So you really need to pay attention to these nonverbal cues. There are so many trainings. I went through a lot of them to try to understand what the other person is actually saying. Do you know what are the 4 communication styles? There are 4 essentially communication styles. Do you know what these are? Anyone would like to share the thoughts? Basically, it is assertive communication, aggressive, passive, and passive-aggressive communication style. So one of the most common communication style, and there has been a study, worldwide study, done, is passive-aggressive. What does it actually mean? It means I will say yes, and I think no. That is what passive-aggressive is. And that is where nonverbal cues can help us a lot to understand that the person is actually either not willing to express their thoughts openly, hiding something, being frightened to speak, or just not at ease communicating their wants and needs. It's where these nonverbal cues can help us a lot to understand that the person is communicating passive-aggressively to us, not assertively. That's why being able to spot these hints is very, very important. So you will understand that the person is really having the opposite thoughts of what they are expressing and telling you. Okay, so the next one is, oh my God, learning agility. And there are all sorts of agility. There is a mental agility, people agility, change agility, results agility, self-awareness agility. These are all parts and constituents of the learning agility. There are 2 buzzwords nowadays, and they are called upskilling and reskilling, and I find them immensely important, especially to people working in the HR. You really need to be on the top of everything that is being a current trend in HR, in processes, in people development, learning and development, everything to stay atop of new trends, new problem-solving ways, everything. And again, why is it important? Because by displaying those qualities, you teach other people in the organization to do the same, to continuously invest in their learning, to proactively seek new ways how to stay atop of the either business or industry trends or whatever they want to learn. That's why it's very important, because HR is the role model of that behavior and that willingness to learn, to grow from the experience, to share knowledge, to apply it to successfully resolve problems and issues. This is This is really, really important. And of course, as an HR person, you really need to know a little bit about your expertise, to be able to handle employee cycle from the beginning to the end, from basically onboarding to offboarding, to be able to implement new trends, to be able to implement new processes, compliances, to continuously learn about the new trends when it comes on the job market, to be able to help people grow on the other hand, and to ensure the business continuity. Because let's not forget, HR is there to drive, to help business succeed in what they are doing. Of course, it is done through people, by people, and for people. That's why it's very important not to get sidetracked and to observe company only from the business perspective and forget about people, because people are actually taking the success or the failure of the company. And yeah, that is when it comes to my presentation. Now I'm free and open to hear your questions, any you might have.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lana, and lots of things to think about. And we'll see. Let me read here if I have any more questions. Here I have Chame Marape. He comments, self-awareness reminds me of the need to choose what the conscious mind focuses on so that the subconscious mind brings it to pass.
Wow. Wow. Oh, wow.
Excellent.
This is a good point. Yes, our subconscious drives our decisions. I mean, our emotions specifically make our decisions. As much as we want to think that we are logically making some decisions, it's always up to our emotions. And mostly our emotions are driven by our subconscious. So yes, it's very important to pay attention to this. Agree.
We have one request. If you could go back to your previous slide. I think they're taking notes or looking at it. Perfect. Okay, great.
Yeah, of course.
That's from Ingrid. Yes, a couple of requests there. Interested in that last slide.
Share my presentation and you can share it with all the attendees today.
Fantastic. Yes, that would be great. Thank you, Lana. So any questions or comments? Steve, you had your hand raised before, and then after Steve, we'll go to Elvis.
Hi, it's Steve again. So I'm spiritual intelligence, but then just a surface street. I just want to add a piece to that, where based on your experience and the gut feeling you have in that interview.
I can't hear you well. Sorry, just the connection cuts and I hear every second or third word. That's my issue.
Sorry, can you hear me better now?
Okay, I can hear you better now.
Okay, sorry, that's my speaker. So yeah, so it's the interaction, the eye contact, and the gut feeling that comes out in that interview, but that one-on-one is gonna add to
just to see if I got it right. So do I rely on my gut feeling? From time to time, I have to say, yes, I do. It wouldn't be fair to say, no, I just rely on facts and that's it. No, but I really try to observe my gut feeling from different perspectives. So sometimes gut feeling can be deceiving. Sometimes gut feeling is just one or two experiences that you have had, and you try to match those experiences against what you're currently experiencing and to put it into that category or the field. So it can be deceiving, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it goes with experience and with years of your age, that you can say, I can freely rely on this gut feeling, because I had many of the situations before when it turned right or wrong if I did this or that. And you can back this up with real situations, real experiences, and it's not being deceiving to try to sway you in this or that direction. But it really goes with experience, and even that you should just ask for the second thought if you are going to make a decision only based on gut feeling, not on facts. You just ask for the second in order to back up your thinking, in order not to do wrong to some person, especially when it goes to recruiting. Okay, so I hope I answered your question.
Yes. Experience is one of the key components in that gut feeling, and I mentioned it.
Yes.
Just one
Yes.
more comment for Elvis. My comment is based on your people system, 360-degree system where you get feedback from the employees and it goes right through to the management, and there's a nice communication, the information that comes back to the employees. The very dynamic, um, experience the jet.
Hello, Steve.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you very well, so I don't know if you can go back to it.
Oh, here I go again. So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just saying that my experience, having heard your comments, we use a 360-degree cycle where we hear from the goes right back to the management team, and the management creates a response to the employees, and it goes, they make that kind of cycle.
Okay. Now,
you
yeah,
know?
that's great.
So
The idea, but I believe that's not what's happening here. So
okay.
it's good to learn from it. I
Elvis,
have
we're
it
gonna
now.
send Lana. We're gonna send Lana over to your. We're gonna send Lana over to marathon.
That'll be great. That'll be great. That'll be great, actually. Good. I've made notes from you, Steve, and from Lana. As I'm now doing finance, so that'll be great to have it in mind. So by the time I'll need that, so I'll use it. And I raise my hand, Lana, to comment on your topic. It's been great, interesting for me. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I really, really enjoy it, and I'll recommend that topic.
Thank you, Elvis and Steve, for your participation. Let me go to 3 more people who have had their hand up. Babatunde, if you can, then Robert, and then Onais. I think you wanted to say something. Go ahead, Babatunde, are you there?
All right, yeah, thank you. I'll just make it brief. Great presentation, I must say, but a comment and like a question I'm trying to ask is that the subject of influence in Africa is a little bit different. So I was trying to ask Lena if she could include leadership at different phases in different countries. Because in most countries in Africa, when you study some of the coups, the attacks, the bandits, what is defined as influence is raw power, raw force. And sometimes it means people will have to obey you because you threaten to sack them, you threaten to kill them, and for them, this is influence for them, particularly in a lot of African countries.
Wow, this is a huge topic. We will really need a new session so I can share my experience working with across the globe with different teams in different cultures, and speaking more about their leadership styles. Of course, what we were discussing today are some kind of general leadership capabilities, right? leadership as part of human experience is also very much influenced by the specific culture and the country. So it's not like you can say, okay, so the leadership should look like this. Well, it's like generally speaking. Of course, there will be the differences, cultural differences between the different leadership styles. But what we were talking today are some kind of top-notch general leadership capabilities that should be, to a certain extent, developed for leaders, any leaders coming from anywhere. But of course, there will be specifics and differences regarding the cultures where these leaders come from. That's
Well,
kind
we'll
of
definitely be inviting you back, Lana, to answer that question and maybe other topics. Robert, you had your hand raised. We have maybe a couple of more minutes, and I want to get your thoughts in. And after that, Onais, and then Angel. We'll see if we have time.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Lana, for the presentation. While you were speaking, I was just thinking, over the last 3 years, you see, workplace organizations have kind of moved towards the off work. And you find a lot of people working out of the office. And how do you think in HR practice, how do you feel we should be able to, in context, manage a lot of people that you are not physically seeing? So a lot work out of, they are not in the office, and you still have to manage them, you still have to lead them, you still have to, cope with them. So how does this tie in with what you present? I'm just looking at the future now.
Oh, that's again large topic to speak about. I think that from the business perspective, for the last 3 years since the pandemic outburst, we proved that the business can be managed remotely, right? I think a lot of businesses survived, many new were established, and I think that probably none of the businesses probably collapsed because of the opportunity and possibility to work remotely. And from the business perspective, I think it would work. But we're still far away to see what are the consequences of remote work on our human connection. Not much time has passed since we started working remotely, and it's been going on. Zoom calls definitely function. We can see, we can convey our messages, we can, make presentations, report our results, we can have one-on-one meetings, but to see how it reflected on our human connection. Will it reflect in a negative or in a positive way that we are not able to be in the same person with each other to have more time to speak about some things that are not related to our work, because honestly, how much time do you spend talking about non-business related things on Zoom calls? Not so much. So we still need to find out how it will reflect on the people in general. This is one of my concerns. I just, don't get me wrong, I'm in favor of remote work, but I'm concerned a little bit about it in the long run, how it will reflect on us. Because I've been, a lot of people came back to me and spoke to me about that they feel somehow alienated. Is it the word alienated? Right?
Yes, aligned. Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, from other people because of the remote work, they feel more depressed, losing those social connections, not being able to
yes. Yeah, alienated. Yeah, they feel alienated. Yes.
Sorry, I struggle with this word all my life. So this is something that people have been speaking to me recently, that kind of they don't feel so much working remotely. I mean, they feel so good they don't have to commute, that's fine, but not being able to go to lunch together with people or to coffee, it takes its toll, I think.
Yes. I want to respect your time, Lana. There's a couple hands up. I don't know if you have the time or yes. Oh, wow. Fantastic. So let me go to Angel. I think
Dr.
Angel,
Ricardo, there's a
nice.
chat message that's been put up twice by Marvin Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
It says, have you ever heard about this new culture of embracing and celebrating mistakes in an organization?
Of course. Oh, of course. Being able to celebrate mistakes and successes, it's great. And the companies that pay attention to that secure time when they're going to celebrate their successes or tackle their failures to learn something from that, is really contributes tremendously to creating that kind of warm, engaging culture. Because, you know, we don't get so much of kind of recognition, and we don't feel that kind of personal contribution when we jump from one task to another, from one project to another. We accomplish, we finish something, but if we don't reserve time to praise ourselves or to praise other people, to give credit for that, then another accomplishment and another project just feels like that. Another accomplishment and another project without that recognition that is very, very important to drive engagement, to drive productiveness, efficiency in people. Then like it can be done by a robot. Like if there is no praise, if there is no recognition, is there a human aspect in that at all?
Very true. And Onais, you had unmuted yourself a couple of times. You have something to share with us?
Yes, thank you very much for the time, and it is very interesting. My question is like, what is the difference between HR and leadership? Because I feel like they are two different things. According to my experience, is that human resources, they specialize much on securing that the company is following all the law procedures of that country. But while this leadership is more about leading people, showing people what to do and to achieve the goals. And then the other thing I would like to say is that in Angola, things are sort of different from what I'm hearing from now, because our human resources is a department on its own. It has nothing to do with the leadership in the field, but they secure that all the procedures of the law, they are being followed. And then they are not part of the training of the staff. I feel like next time, maybe let's put it in two different discussions, because for me right now, I think there are two big topics that we should learn about, because leadership, it is a big topic also, and human resources, it is a big topic of which we cannot, from my opinion, we cannot combine the two. But of course, I understand that cultures are different, but here in Angola, these are two different things altogether.
Okay, I totally understand what you want to say. Let's clear something out. Securing and ensuring that the policies and procedures are in place, especially from the legal perspective, is very important for the HR. That's, let's say, one of the key pillars of the HR function from that perspective, to ensure that everything is in place, because, you know, it has to be from the legal perspective. So sometimes this can, not having time to train people, to teach people, to educate them how to give feedback, how to receive feedback, not having time to invest in promoting good leadership practices. Sometimes it can be, the reason can be that the HR as a function is understaffed, right? If you just have a few people in the HR and hundreds of people, well, they just need to reserve their time to make sure that everything is being done by the law, by the law of that certain country. Sometimes is the thing that people who are hired for the HR just don't have those competencies. They're juniors. So the company needs to reserve time that there is some senior or mentor who they can learn from. Of course, I mean, you cannot expect the junior person to be able to demonstrate from their experience leadership practices, because they can just tell you the definition of it, but they cannot speak from their personal experience about that. So it can be that either the HR as a function is understaffed and they need to take care of essentials, which policies and procedures are to some extent, or they are not at the level where they can teach and promote leadership practices. If neither is the case, and there are enough people, they're educated, they just don't make it their priority, and that is completely other thing that we need to understand why promoting healthy culture and leadership, promoting good leadership training is not the priority. Then again, we need to see what is the management thinking out of that. Maybe they're just putting it as a kind of thing they don't expect from HR to invest their time into. Because just bear in mind, HR is not a function by itself. They work and coordinate and collaborate with other functions, and they are coordinated by the top management. So if the top management doesn't put leadership as their priority, it can't be the priority of HR itself. Again, it has to do with integrity. So a good HR with integrity would say, listen, we need to make this a priority, right? Or I won't be working here. So you'll find another HR who will be okay. So I think
Great points. Great points. Herbert, I don't know if you're driving. If you can safely unmute. I saw you raising your hand physically several times. So I wanted to give you a chance.
Yes, thank you so much. This is Herbert from Uganda. Due to poor network, we have been missing some of the remarks made by Lana. So as I requested last time, I wonder whether we can get the
absolutely.
Yes,
Herbert. Yes,
I requested the other time to have it, but I've been checking time to time, but received nothing. So it is my humble request
I will be meeting personally with our IT department. They're a little bit behind, but I promise this week we should have some of their older recordings. Thank you, Herbert.
I'll be grateful.
Angel, do you still have a question?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Hello from Belize in Central America. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm actually really opinion this one. First of all, thanks very much to AIU for invitation and this Lana for your presentation, which is very, very informative and useful for us. I have a situation here in the company where I'm working. Because of COVID, there were some changes that were to be implemented by management. And the union intervention is causing some difficulties with staff and the management, and some staff difficult to deal with, and everything is complaining to the union. And back and forth, and you can see some of them are really affected that they don't have that, how can I say, the same work attitude then. How to deal with situations like this?
I think I didn't hear everything about the question. Rick, can you just tell me if you heard everything?
Yes. Yeah, it was a little bit low, but basically that there was some conflict between the management and the staff.
Right.
And there's been some friction in the company.
Okay, some kind of conflict between the management and the staff, right? And how?
Just it's because of the union. Union is when it's assisting the employees because of the change that management wants to implement. And that has to do with salaries and allowances to employees. But now there has been this, and it's affecting the employees' attitude towards management.
I think he's talking about the salaries or the differences in incomes, perhaps. Is that right?
Yes, there's some changes because of business that slowed down during the pandemic. And now the union representing the employees, which is outside body, is interested in willing to assist and to is negotiating with the company, so to speak,
Yeah,
for the employee.
So Lana, you have a huge problem there. You have the unions representing the employees now fighting for the salaries and things, and the things have not been so good. So there's this kind of battle going on.
I'm so much in favor of the unions, I have to say, because the unions are the driving forces. Honestly, if you need to raise your employees' salaries, then it means you need to make more revenue, right? So just the
That's
driving.
right.
So I really can't explain it because this is a very specific situation. I would need to get obviously more details to give you some decent answer to this one. But I honestly, throughout my career, I had a very positive experience with the different unions in the companies I was working for. It all comes that you need to encompass and to understand basically what are the unions telling you about, because more or less unions have a very decent clue about what is going on the market, and they want to follow the market. So you should listen. Of course, maybe you will not be able to implement all their solutions or to follow all their wants and suggestions, but you should definitely listen to them because they observe and understand the market to certain aspects that you might be missing. And if you don't adapt to the market, then your competition will definitely move forward, and then you will be in a problem. So you need to listen to them and try to adapt as much as possible, not to neglect them, because they have a very good understanding of the work market in the industry. I really would need to go now.
Thank you very much, everybody.
I would honestly love to stay with you for as many hours as it takes. It was a really pleasure. I really admire because you were so talkative, interactive, curious, willing to learn. I really appreciate that, and I would really like to be able to talk to you again.
We'll hope to have you back. We'll definitely invite you. We'll be happy to see if you're available and have you back again. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Sorry
much.
if anybody didn't get to ask their question, but time has run out. But thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it. Come back again tomorrow, 10 in the morning. We have another great presentation, and we hope to have Lana back in the near future. Take care, Lana.
Mr.
Thank
Rick,
you so much.
I left a message for you.
Yes,
so
Amir, I
much.
have it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a wonderful day, everybody. See you again.
Thank you so much. Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Thank you,
Ciao.
Dr.
Thank you so
Babatunde.
much.
Bye. Thank you for everything. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Enjoy your day.
It was very educative. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Rick. I hope that's correct. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.
I come back tomorrow.
Okay.
Excellent. We will see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Yes, tomorrow.
Umberto, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the message. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.